XRP has been in the works for quite some time now. Why are you so sure it's going to play out in the very near future? Things are in place at this point. Like, as an example, in 2024, when the reverse carry trade started to unwind, the Clarity Act and the Genius Act hadn't even been proposed. I put out my prediction in March of 2024 about the Domino Theory. And one of the components was the Genius Act, the stablecoin bill being passed. It wasn't even called the Genius Act at the time. I called it the stablecoin bill. That wasn't in place when the reverse carry trade started to unwind in August of 2024. And they shored things up. They kicked the can. They were able to hold interest rates there in Japan until we were in position to be able to soak up those treasuries so that it wouldn't destabilize the bond market and put us in a Mad Max scenario. So you've got that. You've got all the acquisitions that Ripple made last year in order to be able to work at scale. You had the launch of RLUSD, which is the first stablecoin on the XRPL, which I think there will be more stablecoins issued on the XRPL in the not too distant future. Monica Long talked about that just the other day. So, and then I've attended Swell the last 3 years. I was in Dubai, and then Miami, and then in New York here recently. In the previous 2 years, they still were talking about, compliance, regulation, custody, digital identity. And they were like, look, the bedrock has to be in place before we can actually implement this stuff. The bedrock is in place now. And in 2025 at Swell in New York, State Street, BlackRock, Fidelity, many other large institutions gave timelines on when they thought this stuff would happen. And they felt like by the end of 2028, we would have full tokenization of markets. Like, that was stated by multiple large financial institutions. And for that to happen, we've got to get liquidity into these networks. We've got to get adoption, and we've got to get to work. Tokenizing real world assets on chain. And we have to have settlement and payments first. That is the first thing that has to be in place after digital identity and custody are in place for these financial institutions. KYB, KYC, AML, OFAC, accreditation, all of those are credentials that you can have on the XRPL that are tied to your digital identity. And now that we have permission domains, you can use that as your key to be able to participate in certain ecosystems. Banks and institutions want to know the counterparties they're working with. They want to have visibility into that. And they want to be able to operate in private permissioned ecosystems alongside the public mainnet in order to be able to participate in a secondary market where they can access liquidity for these tokenized assets. So all that being said, with the timelines that were given, and again, one of the other interviews that happened at Swell was Monica Long and the president of NASDAQ. And she talked about, back-end settlement and reconciliation of the stock market was the first application for distributed ledger technology and blockchain. I know that that's been sitting in the background for years, developed Project Ion with DTCC and R3. So, that's been finalized in August of 2022. All these things are ready, and the people that are positioned are going to do exceptionally well in this transition.